All right, good evening, everyone. It's Dr.SHIVA Ayyadurai. It's East Coast time. It's about 9:45. Good morning to people also. I know we have people from all over the world joining us. Today, we're going to have a discussion on a topic that I've talked about before, but I want to really focus in on it. It's really about why delayed truth is deadly. And the corollary to this is, how do you know what's true anymore? Who can you trust? And that's what we're going to talk about. But it's going to be in the context of delayed truth is deadly, because this gives you a hint who you should not follow and who are actually scumbags, who are opportunists, who actually are the most evil people because they delay the truth for their own power, profit, and control. That's what we're going to talk about. And as people are joining us, let me just say hello to some people. Maria Canistra says, good evening. Nice to have you, Maria. Earl Davis says, Earl Davis said, Dr. Shiva, I hope you cover what went wrong in the Maricopa company, full forensic audit. And then we have Evelyn Rusher saying, good evening. We have Madonna, good evening to you. We have Ray from Connecticut. Nice to have you. Karen Henneberry, good to have you. Neil Zimmerman. And John, maybe you can put some of those people up as they're coming in. Saratha Uday Singh. So anyway, we have people from all over the world coming in. And if you notice, each day, I've been pretty good so far, knock on wood, it's our 8th day. We've been trying to do our lives between 8 and 10 p.m. so we could hit all of you. But fundamentally, what we're going to talk about is, how do you know who's telling the truth anymore? How do you know I'm telling the truth, right? How do you know your neighbor's telling the truth? How do you know you actually have access to the truth? And one of the hints to understanding who's telling the truth and who's bamboozling you is the basis of the title of today's talk, Delayed Truth is Deadly. Many of you know that we have built a movement, a worldwide movement, which teaches people how to think. And that's called Truth, Freedom, Health. We're training warrior scholars. And that movement fundamentally is helping people look at the world, all this information that we have access to. Even though we have all this information, we think we're going to get happier lives. We should be healthier. We should have more truth, and we should have more freedom. But the reality is, with all of this information, actually nearly 50% of the world in the next few years is going to be obese. We have 51% of kids who feel hopeless. Nearly 1 billion people on the planet have anxiety and depression. 40% of the world's population wants to overthrow their governments. It's not like all this information is making people's lives better. What we do know is that this information gets put through a lens, which I call ignorance. And that ignorance is the aspect of where those in power can cherry pick aspects of a very complex system and present you their viewpoint to either do one of four things: to manipulate you to go complacent, because you basically say, I can't do anything, maybe the earth is flat, maybe it isn't, it's too hard to figure out, and if they're doing this to me, then I can't do anything, I'm just going to go hide in my little hovel. Drive you to complacency, drive you to a farm in Vermont and not do anything and think you're doing something when pesticides are falling from the sky. You can't really hide. Okay. The other thing is, people get driven to desperation from this ignorance, from the misinformation and the manipulation that takes place. So a desperation could be someone takes a gun and does a shooting, or tries to do some terrorist action, thinking some heroic action is going to change the world. Okay, that's the second thing. The third bucket people will do is to try to manipulate into the left wing of some institution, vote for someone on the left, or to the right. So those are the four buckets. There's a whole video I've done called The 4 Buckets That People Manipulate Into That Could Happen to You. All right. And that is coming from taking all this information, but cherry picking it. And the people doing this are obviously those in power, but they have their cabal and their extended concentric network of influencers now on social media. All of these people are paid and bought for. They get either money or they get views, right? So if they say what the elites want to do, they get put on TV. All right. They get views on social media. The others, like myself, who tell the truth at the right time, we get suffocated. So they give the illusion of free speech, but they actually suffocate you. So that's one thing you can see. If you see someone on mainstream media all the time 99.999% of the chance, they're part of the establishment. Okay. So that's one indication you want to take away with you. Write it down. So if you see someone like all these doctors suddenly coming out and they're suddenly anti-vaccine mandates, suddenly they're against the mRNA, they're against Fauci. Well, you have to ask, where were they in 2020? These same scumbag doctors were silent. They were profiting from the destruction of people's lives. 2 to 3 years later, then they come out and say, oh yeah, I'm an MD. I should have said this then, but you didn't. And then they write books. They get on lecture circuits. That is the people you should not trust, because they're doing it because they profited before, and now they're profiting by writing books. They're opportunists. All right, so that's an important thing to remember. Before I go into this, what I'm going to, at a high level, what I'm going to cover is I'm going to give you about 5 different examples of this aspect of delayed truth. I'm going to name people, and then we're going to talk about what the solution is. Before I go into that, everyone knows that I'm running for president of the United States. And as you know, the reason I decided to run for this office is, most importantly, most people's activism, unfortunately, in the United States, every 2 to 4 years, a week before the election, they said, oh yeah, we got to vote. Who are you going to vote for, this donkey or this elephant, or Tweedledee or Tweedledum? And then they get their friends to think voting is a way for citizenship. However, the establishment gets people's consciousness around the electoral process. And those people who typically run for office are opportunists, are running to win an election. They're not there to use the opportunity to insert themselves and to really educate lots and lots of people, to show them that elections, number one, are selections, but more importantly, elections are what has never changed the world. It has been through movements. And furthermore, for someone like me as an outsider, who actually has good things to say, who actually has real solutions for me to get elected, you're going to need a movement. And that's why we're running. We're running to build this movement. But most importantly, it's for you. This is an opportunity for you to get off your butt and stop saying, oh, why don't you vote for this idiot or that idiot or the lesser of two evils? It's an opportunity for you to understand the principles, the system dynamics of how you're being screwed with every day, and how you can be a force for change. In order to do that, I've also created, like I did email, like I did Cytosolve and many other creations, I've created a creation called Truth, Freedom, Health. Truth, Freedom, Health is really a system. Yes, it's a movement. It's a community. It's education. It's technology. It's all those things. It's software that is an infrastructure that elevates you from just being a bystander or being an observer to becoming an agent of change. So as a part of that, I want to just play this video that will really give you an introduction to what is truth, freedom, and health. So here we
have allowed our country to be taken over from within, and the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to. And we need to all unite, working people. There's only one movement that can do that. And that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution. And that's why I put this together. My goal is to train an army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is, the dynamics of all systems that affect nature. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Truth, freedom, health. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work uniting. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers, completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is the not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is the not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. We're building a bottoms-up movement, and that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done, and it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. You know, Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. His own quote-unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these four concepts I've built into a curriculum where people can go to truthfreedomhealth.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people. 2 years of MIT control systems, I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it, anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. Now, the Senate campaign's expanded to the Movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health, and they can find it on truthfreedomhealth.com, so people can sign in, they can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a Truth, Freedom, Health leader, I offer a full scholarship there, but we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to truthfreedomhealth.com.
All right, everyone. So I encourage all of you to join the Truth, Freedom, and Health movement in whatever way you want to. That essentially will give you an overview. By the way, I also want to recommend to everyone, please like this video. This is some nonsensical thing I never used to have to do, but I have to do because of the immense amount of censorship that's increased, because we're an independent voice. And people like Elon Musk, people like Zuckerberg, do not like independent voices. They have their grifter crew, and we don't. We're not one of those people. But you can like the video, you can share it, you can retweet it, you can comment on it, and these are ways you can hit the subscribe. These are ways that we can, go around the censors, or in many ways minimize your algorithm. But please go do that for your own benefit as well as benefit for what we're doing. The other piece I want to share with everyone is every week, every Thursdays. We just did this yesterday. We had a great team of people show up. I want to encourage you to come to our open house Thursdays at 11 a.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we have it for Asia and Europe as well as the United States. And you just simply go to vashiva.com/orientation, or you can go to Truth, Freedom, Health, and you can sign up. And there's no obligation, but you're welcome to come, and we have more time to interact. So let me talk now about this very important title, Delayed Truth is Deadly, in the context of how do you find out what is truth? How do you know what's true? Question, how do you know what's true anymore? There's so much noise out there. There's so many people saying stuff. And if you work like most of us do, how do you have the time to figure out what's true? Okay. By the end of this conversation, you're going to have a very powerful way, a set of decision-making tools to know what is true. And at the heart of this, because it is, there's so much duplicity right now, the real thing that separates the men from the boys or the wheat from the chaff, as I said in the title of this is, for those of you joining, delayed truth is deadly. Okay? Delayed truth is deadly. What do I mean by that? Well, you will find out in life, there are people like myself and perhaps folks like you who are independent, who have the interests of people at heart because you're one of them. You care for people like most of us do. And you see something occurring, some crime, you report it right away. You expose who the criminal was. You expose the injustice that was done because you realize that it's very, very important in life to tell the truth at the right time. So telling the truth at the right time is one of the key indicators of being a truthful person. All right. So it may seem like a circular statement, but telling the truth at the right time is I would say the most critical indicator of, are you a truthful person? And is that person someone you can trust? All right. So for example, let's say someone is being attacked, brutally attacked, and there are two newspaper reporters, right? One is an independent journalist who works in the local community. He doesn't have a huge newspaper. He walks by this and he sees someone being brutalized and he immediately writes it in the local newspaper, but he has a certain amount of reach. The other guy may belong to a major newspaper and he can reach 1,000 times more people. But maybe he's concerned because the guy that's doing the brutalization is the son of the chairman of his company or something like that, okay? A network. So he delays truth. He doesn't do it. He may wait 2 to 3 years and then write some expose book, acting as though he's doing it, may get a big book deal for several $1 million. The first guy who reported it is never talked about because he's an independent person. The big guns are afraid to give him any attention because they're going to lose views. They're going to lose attention. They're going to, in fact, lose their relevancy. But the other guy profits from not telling the truth, protecting somebody he knows. Then he waits 2 years and he profits again by now delaying truth. And he writes a book or does a movie. Okay? This is a very, very important aspect that I've learned over the last year as I've watched how the scumbags work. All right? And I'm going to give you many, many examples of this in the recent past, because this litmus test of is someone telling the truth at the right time will give you a tool to really determine is that person telling the truth, and can you trust that person? Is the truth actually true? Okay, so let me take an example. If you go on Twitter and you go back to 2020, let me share this with you, and you type in who came up with the Fire Fauci hashtag, okay, and who started the Fire Fauci campaign, you will see right here. John, can everyone see this? You will see right here that it was I who did this. I said, time to fire Fauci. Your voice matters. Add your name to this petition. And I started the first petition to do this on April 4th, 2020. This was literally, 60 days after the coronavirus, quote unquote, nonsense had hit. And we literally had this may still be on our website. It may have moved. Okay. But you can go find that there's a petition here. Okay. And this petition really encouraged people to fire Fauci. Here it is. Here's the petition. Okay. So I put this up in April 3rd. You can see it right there, 2020. I put a picture of Fauci. I said, Dear President Trump, I'm signing this petition to sincerely request your administration immediately indict and fire Fauci. Everyone see this? John, can everyone see this? John Medlar? If not, let me know.
Yes, everyone can see it.
So if you can't see this, let me stop the screen. That link goes to the Fire Fauci page here. And this was a petition we put up. And that was a campaign that we ran. We came up with the slogan, Fire Fauci, and here it is. John, can everyone see that?
Yes, everyone can see the StreamYard.
Okay. And you see this letter that I put together, and we had close to over 100,000 people sign this, okay? And still people continue to sign this. And interesting enough, people found it. But I took all of these signatures and I drove them down to the White House and I handed them to Trump, okay? So that was in April of 2020. I hope that's clear to everyone, okay? Everyone see this? So this is not me just saying it. This is what we did, okay? In April of 2020. April of 2020. So think about that. So why did I do that? Because I knew the truth as a scientist, as an engineer, as a biological engineer with all those degrees. I knew this guy was a scumbag. I knew he was a criminal. And I told Trump, indict this guy, fire him, okay? And I did that when the lockdowns were going on. In fact, I did a tweet in March saying these lockdowns are going to destroy the economy. So everyone get this? Everyone clear? So I did that back then. And and if you go look at this tweet, let me go to this, you will find out that then I drove, me and one of our volunteers, we drove 500 miles, I think that's what it was, all the way to DC. And we gave all of these things to Trump, all of these petition signatures. And we said, you got to fire him. And I'm not just some rinky-dink guy who doesn't know science. I got but 4 degrees from MIT, the #1 technology institute in the world. I did that in April of 2020. Okay? Exactly. Someone says, so why wasn't he arrested? But more importantly, now I want you to compare what the grifters were doing at that time. The grifters meaning fucking Robert fucking bullshit Kennedy. And I hate this guy. Or what was stupid Trump doing? What was fucker Carlson doing? What was Thomas Massey doing? What were all these people? What was all these doctors doing? Bhattacharya. What were all these people doing? Bhattacharya, you can look it up, wrote a paper supporting lockdowns. Tucker Carlson was quiet. Donald Trump didn't follow it. And booby fucking Kennedy was going around telling people he supported strict lockdowns, which is what Fauci was supporting. Okay, strict lockdowns. Okay, he was supporting not just random lockdowns, strict lockdowns. Okay, that's what he was supporting. Everyone clear? These are the facts. So anyone who tries to tell you booby effing Kennedy is some hero, and by the way, he started stealing our stuff, all of our material, and wrote a book called The Real Anthony Fauci. And that he wrote that nearly 16 months later to make money, exactly like that journalist who sat quiet. In fact, this journalist in that case would actually went and stabbed the person. Robert fucking Kennedy supported strict lockdowns in March. Okay? While I busted my ass, ran the petition, collected over 100,000 signatures, drove an old bus with our volunteers down to Washington, slept in the bus because there was lockdowns. You couldn't even get a hotel room, and delivered those. And you can see them all on my Twitter feed. What did Trump do? Nothing. DeSantis was nowhere to be found. And all these other fools who were running for president were nowhere to be found. And booby fucking Kennedy's the most evil because he was supporting lockdowns with Trump. And then he wrote a book about it. At least, others didn't do that, but he's a fucking opportunist. So disgusting. If you have problems with my cursing, I think you have a problem because you should be cursing. Okay? That's what happened. That is an example, as those of you joining knew, this talk on delayed truth is deadly. All right? And by the way, when I used to do those talks in those days, because they hadn't figured me out yet, we used to have 10,000 viewers. Now we have 150 viewers. It's quite incredible. Booby fucking Kennedy does a tweet, he gets 2 million views. I do a tweet, I used to get 20 million views. Now we get 5,000 views. You guys understand what's going on? So all of you listening, instead of just listening to me, it's very, very important that you get off your butts and you share this information, because you're looking at someone who is a fighter for you, and you need someone like me to be president. At minimum, you should vote for me. At minimum, because you're making a principled stand. And if you're talking about lesser of two evils, then something's wrong with you there. Okay. You're basically a slave. All right. So for your own interest, for your own dignity, you should not only vote for me, but you should also get involved in the movement for truth, freedom, health. Okay. So again, these are the facts. April of 2020, did the petition, went down there, did tweet after tweet after tweet, video after video after video exposing Fauci, where all these grifters were quiet. And you know who was really quiet? All these bloody MDs who are now running around doing lecture circuits and making millions of dollars, acting as though they were against Fauci. People are now saying, oh, we should indict Fauci. Well, the guy's fucking retired. What are you talking about? Do you see what they do? They delay truth and think about all the people that died. The work I did, exposed Fauci. We gave Trump a protocol, vitamin D3. We didn't make any money off that. We weren't selling vitamin D3 products like Zelenko, who stole our protocol, or like Alex Jones. We did it because we cared for you. And that's what happens when you have one of you out there, not these scumbags. We're not running as Republican or Democrat. We're running as primary, Pamela. And we need help getting on every state's ballot. So go to Shiva for President and say that you want to help. Now, during that period, 400 million people saw the videos I did. And they knew I was a force and our movement was a force to be reckoned with. And in February of 2021, I was thrown off for 2 years off Twitter. Why? Because I exposed a backdoor portal into Twitter. Not for anything I said. But the bottom line is, at that time in April of 2020, what were all these MDs doing? What was this fool? By the way, they found a bunch of brown guys suddenly out of nowhere to give them a lot of views. Vivek, Asim, Malhotra, Bhattacharya, all these Indian guys suddenly start showing up in the last 3 years. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? A bunch of brown guys start showing up. The elites went and found a bunch of brown guys to take away the views from me. Seriously, psychologically, at minimum. And all these guys were nowhere to be found in 2020 when it mattered. When it mattered. Write that down. Truth is only as good as when you say it when it matters. When it matters. This guy, Bhattacharya, wrote a paper, and I have it, which I've shared before, supporting lockdowns. And then when he saw our movement taking off, they needed a brown guy at the end of 2020. Then he says, oh, he does a Balfour, some bullshit accords. All the MDs now are scrambling because they know their entire medical establishment, their MD religion is going to go out the door. So now you have MDs being promoted by the media as though they're the saviors and they're the fighters against Fauci. Absolutely false. These guys are scumbags. They're trying to profit now from the damage that they did before, and they profited. Okay? Is that clear? All right. All right. And if anyone has a problem with my cursing, please get the fuck off, because you have a serious problem if you're not getting upset by this. Okay? If you want me to speak in beautiful language, I can do that. I can play that. I've done that. If you want me to speak, do poetry, I can do that. If you want me to write wonderful essays, I can do that. But this is not the fucking time for this. This is about talking about scumbags who have fucked over billions of people on this planet. And you're looking at someone who came from the streets of New Jersey and from the streets of Bombay. This is how I talk. All right? Yes, Karen, MDs have always been scumbags. They're pussies. They're opportunists. They never say what needs to be said at the right time. Yep, Maria, these people are scumbag criminals. Exactly. All right. All right. Now, they have a problem with me because 500 million people know about our movement. They know me. Wherever I travel, people know me because we got the word out. We did the right thing. And what they're really afraid of is you now. They're afraid you are going to catch on to this. And they're afraid that you are going to break from the establishment of left and right. And you're going to sort this out. Wow. Booby fucking Kennedy didn't say anything. He was supporting lockdowns. Why is he now saying stuff and writing books about it? Why is he doing that? You're going to start figuring shit out. And that's what they don't want to occur. And that's why our movement exists, because we're going to help you figure that out. Okay? Some of you are going to come kicking and screaming, but we will help you figure that out. So that's one example. Okay? Let me give you another example. The second example I want to talk about is that election systems. It was in 2020. I was the first one. I was the first one to call out election fraud because they screwed me in my own election here for U.S. Senate right here in Massachusetts. I was the one who talked about the weighted race algorithm, how the machines can do weighted races. That was me. Go look at it. September of 2020. Did Trump do anything? Nada. He was talking about voter fraud and voter ID. All right. I was talking about election fraud. Our movement in Massachusetts put out over 2 million cards, 2 million cards all over Massachusetts talking about this. Because in September of 2020, I was headed for a landslide victory, as everyone knows, in the primary, in the Republican primary, and was Republicans who colluded with the Democrats because they didn't want an outsider. We had 3,000 volunteers on the ground. We were on the verge of winning, and they worked with the Democrats to manipulate the votes. It was I who discovered the chain of custody issues, that ballot images get deleted in the United States. It was I who discovered that the signature verification system is all fucked up. I did all that work. Trump then, in November of 2020, after all of this, started using the word election fraud and made $500 million off my work. That's what he did. He's a scumbag. He's an opportunist. I can tell you on November 4th of 2020, I got a call from Mark Meadows' office because they were seeing my work. I was doing stuff on Michigan, Massachusetts, Arizona, and they said, "Oh, Dr. Shiva, can you help me?" I said, "Yeah, get me the data." They were just wanting to ride my coattails. They never gave me data. They suppressed the data, concealed it, but they went on to make a shitload of money off talking about election fraud. Same thing, you see, delay the truth, don't talk about it, and they make money off the damage. It's like poverty pimps, like Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson. You guys getting what I'm saying? Second example, and you can go look at it on my Twitter feed. In April of 2020, it was I who exposed election fraud. Nobody else in all the manifestations, period. Period, period, period. So it's time. Yeah, does credit matter? Damn right credit matters. Why does credit matter? Credit matters because you get to get trained on who is the source of truth. And what they want to do is they don't want to give credit. And whenever I demand the credit I deserve, they say, "Oh, he's just arrogant. He wants credit." No, that's not why I want credit. I want credit so you learn where the truth comes from. Okay? Yes, Serena Morella says they hijack truth. Not only do they hijack truth, Serena, but they hijack the source of that truth. They rewrite history. But we're not going to let it occur. Because, see, a force like Truth, Freedom, and Health and a fighter like myself has not existed before in a long time. And you have not existed who are absorbing this information and are going to become warrior scholars for Truth, Freedom, and Health. That's what they don't expect. They expect people to kowtow and kiss ass to some dumbass Kennedy or some, golden-plated toilet seat boy Trump or some doofus Biden or some other Harvard Yale boy DeSantis, etc. But they do not expect one of us to galvanize one of us to build a movement. That's what we're doing. So, election systems. I was the one who exposed it. Trump made $500 million with it. He would announce, "Well, I want to thank Dr. Shiva." Well, he invited me to Mar-a-Lago. The day he invited me to Mar-a-Lago, he endorsed a guy here in Massachusetts who committed election fraud. So I refused to go to Mar-a-Lago. I have the letter. Most people would have bowed down to Trump. "Oh, he's inviting me to Mar-a-Lago." Not us. Then he invited us again. And when I went, I had a 2-hour meeting with him. I said, "Why'd you endorse a scumbag?" That kind of meeting. And I said, "If you really want to fight election fraud, why don't you support an institute? I'll run it." He didn't want to give one penny for that. Bottom line is he made $500 million. While we in Massachusetts were on the ground fighting our butts off. You guys get it? Second example of where we told the truth, fought for all of you guys. They concealed it. Fucker Carlson, what did he do? He didn't say anything in 2020. Then in 2022, he puts on his fucking dumbass face. It's a scumbag, this guy. Talks about election fraud. Why? Because it's cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Because they realized that the masses of conservatives were concerned, so he wanted their viewership. But internally, the bastard was sending text messages telling people, "I don't believe in any of this. It's all fraudulent." And that's why Fox News had to pay $750 million. You guys get it? Again, scumbags. You can't trust Trump. You can't trust fucking doofus Kennedy. You can't trust the other scumbag fucker Carlson, okay? They're all entertainers. They don't give a damn about you. They all hang out with Hunter Biden. They're his friends. They're not one of us. I hope this is becoming clear. Let me take the third issue. It was in September of 2020. Again, this is a grand slam, okay? The triple, right? A hat trick. It was I in our lawsuit who discovered in courtroom testimony, during cross-examination that I did, that the government of the United States had built a backdoor portal into every social media company to silence speech of Americans, to violate the end, to do an end run around the First Amendment. I discovered that. I won a lawsuit. Where were all of these guys? Where was fucking Elon Musk? Did you see him? No. Where was fucker Carlson? Where was he? Where were all these grifters? Where was Matt Taibbi? Where were all of these people in 2020? 2020, September of 2020, March to September, was the most critical time in human history. But we were on the ground exposing this. Let me just make it clear. We weren't, and we had many, many wins. We were exposing this all over the world. Recently, when I was traveling over Europe, people would randomly come up to me. They said, Dr. Shiva, we saw your videos. We know they stole that election. Thank you so much for saving my friend's life with your vitamin D3 protocol. Okay? We did that. An independent movement, not in the left or the right. And that's what bothered them. That's why they intentionally concealed our truth. They intentionally concealed this, as I mentioned, on Fauci, on the election systems, and also on the backdoor portal. Why did they conceal it? Because they didn't want to give me views. They didn't want to give our movement attention. They're like, holy shit, this guy is telling the truth at the right time. If we put him on Fox News, everyone's going to start listening to him. Because when he speaks, he tells the truth. He's very believable, and he's smart, and he cares about other people. So they had bullshitters. They found brown guys, literally. Right now, they have 3 brown guys who they put on TV every day. This is not accidental. Some guy, Asim Malhotra, look at this fool. He's an MD. He knew this stuff was damaging people, but when did he get involved? When his father, when his family member got hurt. That's not a fucking doctor. That's a selfish bastard. If you really care and you know damage is going on, you say when it's going on. You don't wait, oh, it happens to my family. Now I'm going to say something. It's a fucking selfish human being. But he gets put on everywhere, okay? Fucker Carlson didn't say anything. But when he saw he could get views out of election systems, then he said something. Again, to those of you joining us, we're having a discussion on a very important discussion. How do you determine who's telling you the truth and who you follow? And we're talking about delayed truth is deadly. Because all of these people I'm talking about, I'm giving you actual examples that you can go do your own research. Please go do that. Do not believe me. It was I who ran the Fire Fauci campaign. It was I who exposed the election systems issues in 2020. It was I, in working my butt off until 2 a.m, filing my own lawsuits, we exposed that the government has a backdoor portal into Twitter. Okay? 3 things that were done in 2020. All right. 2020, 2019, we ran the first international conference on immune health and vaccines. 1,000 people showed up. You can look at it. Physically, 500 people came to our building. It was packed. And we educated people on the immune system. We told people that we must eliminate the 1962 Kennedy Vaccination Act. I'm not talking about the 1986 Injury Act. We're talking about 1962. That was in November of 2019. What was booby fucking Kennedy doing? He was telling people we need to vaccinate everyone. I believe in full vaccination. He came to Boston and he endorsed his nephew, who was for vaccine mandates. He had already endorsed Hillary Clinton 3 times. These people are lying in your face. And they're grifters who support these fools. It's wicked what they're doing to you. It's wicked. And you should be really, really upset. Okay, so we exposed Fauci on time. We exposed election systems on time. We exposed the backdoor portal into Twitter on time. We also exposed the fact that these vaccines have no testing and we need to build natural immunity. That was in 2019. And remember, as I've said, booby fucking Kennedy Jr. was promoting lockdowns in 2020. We have the tweets. He can't get rid of it. He was promoting strict lockdowns. All right. In 2021, you can look at it, find the tweets all there. In 2022, recently when I got back on, I went back on and go look at my Facebook. I was saying we need to get out of NATO. United States needs to get out of NATO. Okay? And Booby fucking Kennedy was supporting. He said, we're in Ukraine for all the right reasons. And then he has his son, a picture of him fighting in the Legion. His son is a dirtbag, freaking drug, whatever he is, you know? I've meet these people, okay? They're not good people. So they're trying to position his son as the next Kennedy. So Kennedy in his speech says, we're in Ukraine for all the right reasons. And then on the other hand, he says, but we shouldn't be there for regime change. You see how he talks from both sides of his mouth? They don't speak with clarity. They say, well, it's very nuanced. No, it isn't nuanced. U.S. and NATO imperialism want to go to Ukraine and Russia. It's about working people in America dying for other people. Oil interests, gas interests, petroleum interests, mining interests has nothing to do with us. Yes, thanks you, Hamza. Boobies like Hunter Biden. Yep. And by the way, Booby spit in a cop's face when he was pulled over for being all high. Nothing happened to him. His other uncle murdered a woman. Nothing happened to him. You see, these people don't have to live by the laws you and I do. So what I've just shared with you, when you look at all these issues, I've always told you the truth at the right time. Why? Because I'm one of you, and I fundamentally care for your suffering, and I want to create a world where you live long and prosper. They want to create a world where it's more for thee, not for you, right? More for me, not for thee. That's the world they want. So they promote ideas of Malthusian ideas. Well, you know, we need to depopulate. We have too many people. There's not too many people. The creativity of humankind, when it's unleashed, can sustain, in my view, 100 billion people. So they create false narratives. It's all about them, and they delay truth. And then they tell the truth later, and they have all these people say, oh, wow, Tucker Carlson is such a fighter for freedom. Elon Musk just went to China. The night before he landed in China, he removed the label saying the Chinese state media was a state media company. 92% of all the batteries in the world rely on China. All these electric cars rely on China. Elon Musk, as I've said over and over again, is a government frontman from USA to China. So listen, I think hopefully you get it. Who do you believe? Where does truth come from? Look at when people said it and what their actions were. Don't look at if they told you the truth, because we live in deadly times right now where people tell you the truth after all the damage has occurred. And then they make money telling you that. Okay? Ramaswamy, come on, the guy's a doofus. Another Harvard, Yale doofus, rich boy. They found this brown guy to take material attention away from the real brown guy. Okay? Get that through your heads. Why is there suddenly 3 brown people being promoted all over national media? But they will dare not put me on there because I'm the field slave they don't want out there. All those brown guys are house slaves. They serve the master. I don't serve the master. They do. So it's time that each one of you recognize that in me, in our movement for truth, freedom, health, we have a powerful force to fundamentally change the world. Look at what we've done in the last 3 years. This has been a life journey for me for 50 years. But 2020, 2021, 22, 2023 was our movement in 2017 and 18, which exposed Elizabeth Warren. When you have the right political theory, when you have the right physics, you can change anything. And it's time that each one of you get off your butts, minimum go to truthfreedomhealth.com, become a Truth Freedom Health warrior, or come to our open house, or support this campaign. But don't tell me, well, you're running as an independent. I don't know if you could win. Well, shut the fuck up is my answer. You have no other choice if you want to kill yourself, because right now, since 1980, your children are going to live less than you in America because the elites have destroyed so many things that lifespan in the United States is going down, guys, down. Not since the vaccines, for the last, since 1980. Democrat and Republican to fuck you. Sorry, that's what they've done to you. Every other industrialized nation is going like this. America is going down. And that's because people have been fat, dumb, and lazy and being on this concept of I vote for the lesser of two evils and looking above to a Kennedy, to a Trump, to Obama, all these fools who come from above. You got one of me from one of you from below. So wake the fuck up. That's it. That's all I got to say. So we're living under a very, very important times, and where the future is up to you. The future is up to you. I have created for all of you, it took me 55 years of my life to read all these books, to understand revolutionary theory, engineering theory, scientific theory, to put together the science of systems, which is what we have at Truth, Freedom, Health. I've run for office. I don't need to do this bullshit, but I do it because I hate these guys who oppress everyday people. So it's time that each one of you rise to the occasion, stop following these grifters, don't send me their dumbass videos, come to our open house, which we do every freaking Thursdays like clockwork, and our entire movement is done by volunteers. Volunteers, everyday people like you. And you can come every Thursdays, 11 a.m. or 8 p.m. But you have to, we've created that infrastructure. We've created the university. We've created the community. And now, using that community, that infrastructure, I'm running for president. And that campaign, first of all, is historic because we're also challenging, not challenging, but demanding that people live up to the Constitution. The 5th and 14th Amendment clearly say you cannot discriminate between a naturalized citizen and a native-born citizen. It's in black and white. In fact, the FEC has ruled that I can run. And if any state tries to stop us from getting on the ballot, we will sue them and we'll take it all the way to the Supreme Court. So each one of you, wherever you are, get off your butts, go sign up to be a volunteer at shivaforpresident.com. Help us get on the ballot in your state. That is the order. We need to put the fear of God into these people. That is the order. It's not about voting for the lesser of two evils because they're all going to fuck you, okay? But you vote for me, you get involved in this movement, you're standing up for your own dignity. It's like there's not even a gray area on this issue. It's black and white. You have to vote for Shiva for president. You have to become a Truth, Freedom, and Health warrior. But most importantly, you have to have self-respect for yourself and you have to become leaders and change agents. Your children need it. Right now, your children in the United States are going to live less than you. Thank you to all these assholes. All right. I'll come back with some closing statements. Before I do that, John's going to play our video that we put together for my run for president. Share this video widely. Click on it. Comment on it. Let your friends know. Again, every Thursdays, we do open houses. We need you guys to go through the training. We need you guys to become leaders. I've created that institution for you, which did not exist. It should have been done 50 years ago. Should have been done by our parents. They didn't. They were voting for the lesser of two evils, but you don't need to do that. So get the hell involved, okay? Go ahead, John. Can you play the video?
Who would have ever thought I'd be running for president of the United States of America? I was born a low-caste untouchable in India's caste system, a system of aristocracy, oppression, and racism. My name is Dr.SHIVA Ayyadurai. I'm an MIT PhD, a Fulbright scholar, a scientist, engineer, entrepreneur, and inventor. My family and I left India to come to America on my 7th birthday. I grew up in the working-class neighborhoods of New Jersey, playing baseball, mowing lawns, painting houses, and coding software. My friends and neighbors are blacks, Italians, Irish, people of all races. As a 14-year-old, I wrote 50,000 lines of software code to create the world's first email system and was awarded the first U.S. copyright for email, recognizing me as its official inventor at a time when copyright was the only way to protect software inventions. I did that long before I ever came to MIT, revealing that big innovations can occur anytime, any place, by anybody. Growing up, I saw politicians dividing us by race and religion in both America and India, to have us fighting each other while they remained safe in their gated communities and in their playgrounds of Hollywood, Martha's Vineyard, and Silicon Valley. I'm a fighter. I fought racism and exposed their imperialist wars, fought for workers, and put my life on the line against global corruption. I never wanted to run for political office. All that changed when I saw working Americans as never before being duped by the establishment and the not-so-obvious establishment. Across left and right, we were being sold out and made to forget why we came to America and why America existed. Lawyers, academics, billionaires, celebrities, and politicians. Elites, Clintons, Kennedys, Bidens, Obamas, Bushes, black and white have hijacked America. They printed trillions for their friends. They delivered crumbling infrastructure, corruption, and racism. They've transferred trillions to themselves, dividing black and white, fear-mongering, and fake science. Lockdowns and censorship, dirty air, food, and water, pushing drugs upon us, making us sicker. We've been sold out. One set of rules for them and another for us. We deserve a warrior with a history of courage in putting everything on the line for you, who believes in you, not them, who has created a movement bottoms up for truth, freedom, health. I've exposed their lies at the right time, never waiting until it was popular. I've exposed their false gods who exist to lead you back to them. I've exposed their fake science of lockdowns and masking and provided you solutions to fight them and win and protect your immune system, saving millions. I exposed Fauci, galvanized the Fire Fauci campaign when others remained silent. When they stole our election, we sued the government and Twitter in our historic 2020 federal lawsuit, exposing in bare view the government and big tech censorship infrastructure, the unholy alliance between government and social media companies. Where was Elon and his grifters? They stood by the sidelines and did nothing. They did not use their megaphones to help us when it could have made a big difference. Now our movement grows for truth, freedom, health, independent of all of them. Every day, millions are learning the science of systems, the knowledge the elites do not want you to have, so you may learn how to think, stand up, and fight, independent of the establishment of left and right and their fake heroes. Now it's time for you to join the movement, to win back America, to win back truth, win back freedom, win back your health. That's why I'm running for President of the United States. This race is about you. This race is about truth, freedom, health versus power, profit, control. We've had enough. They think we'll fall in line and vote again for their lawyers, celebrities, billionaires, and chosen ones from above. We choose our heroes from below, from the rank and file, who do what is right at the right time, not when it's convenient and popular. They can never represent us. What America needs is a movement by the working people, for the working people, who are educated, organized, decentralized, and fight for independence from their systems of control. And that movement exists. It's ready for you. We don't need them. We need us to go bottoms up, neighbor to neighbor. My journey, your journey are all the same. It's our time. It's time we had one of us. It's time to win back truth, freedom, health, to win back America. Be part of this historic movement, all the way to our victory on November 5th, 2024. If you're an American citizen, pledge your vote now for Dr.SHIVA Ayyadurai, the independent candidate for U.S. President. No matter where you live, you can be a part of this. Volunteer as little as 20 minutes a day. Don't delay. This is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, and I approve this message, paid for by Dr. Shiva for President.
All right, John, can you hear me okay? Because I had to switch to a different internet. Everything all right?
Yes, sir.
So one of the things, so what can you do before we sign off? Let's talk about something very practical. Number one, go to truthfreedomhealth.com and join in whatever way you want, but become a Truth Freedom Health Warrior Scholar. Come to our open house. The other thing is volunteer for Shiva for President. If you want to donate, great, but we're not here to beg for money. There's no reason for that. If you want to donate, great. And by the way, when you donate, we actually give you a lot back. We give you courses and gifts and books, etc. Because my goal is, I never felt right taking donation, but if you want to do that, great. But you can volunteer and you can help in a number of ways. But the bottom line is, this movement is about you. It's about enabling you, empowering you, so you do a systems overhaul. So you let go of all of these slave mentality thoughts that you have to vote for one of them, or you can't win as an independent. It's about building a movement, guys. That's what this is about. Because they're all liars, they're cheaters, they never tell you the truth, they're here to manipulate you. This movement and what I'm doing and what we're doing as a movement is the only force that is going to change the world. The good news is we've had, if you go to truthfreedomhealth.com, you see all the victories that we had. We win because our approach works. And as we grow, we're going to win even more and much sooner. So anyway, I invite all of you to support the campaign, Shiva for President. I invite you to all become Truth, Freedom, Health Warrior Scholars so you can advance your own interests and get smart, learn how to think. Anyway, that's it. John, is there anything else we want to announce?
Not at this time.
All right. Thanks, John. All right, everyone. Have a good night. It's 10:42 p.m. here. I hope this was valuable. Be well, be the light. Thank you.